Bosses of Reddit, what do your employees think you don't notice, but you really do? I can totally tell when you are into one of your coworkers, or when you'll start hooking up with each other. You aren't fooling anyone. But if you just do your jobs and don't hook up at work, I don't really care. First factory job, I worked my team leader, and one of the other workers kept going to the upstairs break area and would use the couch up there. Everyone knew what was happening, but oddly enough neither were fired, because both were the fastest operators in the factory and had the fewest errors as well. Just a perk of being efficient, I guess. If you are a good worker you can get away with a lot, I've found. There must be a story behind this. First factory job, he worked as team leader, and one of the other workers kept going to the upstairs break area and would use the couch up there. Everyone knew what was happening, but oddly enough neither were fired, because both were the fastest operators in the factory and had the fewest errors as well. Just a perk of being efficient, he guesses. Say they want to move up, but show absolutely no leadership when the opportunity presents itself. Sadly, I see this the most from the most unproductive and incompetent people. They want to move up, but they lack every quality to so. If they are not productive or competent, maybe it's a training issue. Those are two things that directly measure how well people are trained. Exactly. And then they get mad about not getting a raise, promotion. I see this a lot, and then they complain a lot when they don't get promoted. Not calling you out, but I think this happens in a lot of cases where bosses are not clear about what needs to happen for someone to move up and what that person needs to do to meet those criteria. A lot of people get good or vague feedback and feel stuck without ever knowing why they don't meet the standards needed for a promotion. Coming in late. I really don't care about someone coming in 10 or 15 minutes late every now and then. Depends on the job. Clients and customers don't want to wait around until employees arrive to work. Where I live, DC area traffic is so wildly unpredictable that a lot of jobs have leeway on coming in slightly late. It's sometimes near impossible to forecast just how bad traffic will be on a given day, even if you leave early. Yep, I'm in sometime between 9-9:45 am. I can't promise any more concise of a time. What about 3 to 5 minutes late daily? Would you mind that? You actually don't mind my cheesy dad jokes. Groan all you want, Marcus and Becca. I see that smirk when you know one's coming. Come on, you're smiling. I am, and I hate it. Hey, that means they are pretty good jokes. My employees pretend they don't like them either. Then I find them repeating the daily joke to one another and cackling. I know you vape in the tech area when I'm not there. Can you smell my mixed berry blast? How do you know? Just curious. Because it smells like a wet dog got into a bag of peppermints. Everyone in the office comes to vape where all of us technicians work, but the boss knows. It's a huge shop so it doesn't linger. Not a smoker or vapor, but I really don't see the problem. It is against policy as we work on some very expensive networking equipment. They are afraid of residue or something to that effect. It is not our rule. It is our government client who set that rule. Them coming to work under the influence of whatever substance. Takes one to know one. The newish 2 weeks kid that stole $500 from the cash register showed up the next day with a brand new phone and then had an extra $350 in his register. Best part, he dropped his new phone in a puddle after a couple days. Worst part, despite being caught by both the paperwork and the camera, and by being the only one on register that day, because he was newish, he wasn't fired. A guy stole like $1,000 from a Burger King I was working at. He got more than fired. He was also sued and banned from the store. Wait, so are you saying he stole 500 and brought 850 back with a new phone, like he used the 500 to buy drugs and made a quick flip, or his next day register was up 350, so he spent 150 on the phone? We know who actually works hard and who does not. Only to then give the ones that work hard even more work to handle. The only incentive received for working hard is more work. Me. I said that before. Not me. I give better projects to the ones who perform. Social media usage on phones is rife. I guess this depends on the job tasks. Used to work in hospitality and I totally get not being on your phone if there's guests customers around. Currently in an office job, it'll take care of a project maybe 1 hour, then it'll take a mental break and do some mindless scrolling. Totally refreshes me and I'm ready for more work. Just depends on self-control and not letting it consume you. Why is making a third cup of coffee before noon accepted, but other forms of mental prep are not? The answer to your question is that it will over time. Coffee has been around for a long time in our culture, smartphones not so much. I had a boss who would be on Facebook during meetings constantly. More than once she interrupted a meeting I was running to announce something she learned on Facebook. Wait, like what kind of announcement? Wait, you'll have got to check out this minion meme. I'm a teacher, so kind of a boss I guess. My kids don't think I notice them picking their noses. I do. I know when you hate your job but can't quit. Joke's on you, I'm just killing time till you run your company into the ground. I work retail, so sadly this is a reality. Yes, I too can tell when people show up to work taking an easy day. I manage a small crew, and when something isn't done it's not only easily traceable, but the consequences usually have to be dealt with right away. That being said, my crew is awesome. I pretend not to notice when someone takes a slacker day, as long as it's not a regular thing, or it doesn't put their co-workers or me in a bind, because when it counts they can always be counted on. That's not to say the work doesn't have to get done, but I'm not going to write you up for taking an extra smoke break, or spending an extra 10 minutes on a task. I notice the hard days too. It is very obvious when people are texting each other during a meeting. I see that one person typing something on their phone, and then someone else on the other side of the room looks at their Apple Watch, laughs, and looks straight the sender. It happens all the time. I usually don't care. I want the team to be friendly and to support each other, but if someone misses something important and then asks about it 10 minutes later, they look like a dum-dum and call themselves out for not paying attention. When you call in sick because you're hungover. Guilty, but in my defense I don't want to puke at work and you don't want me to either. Yeah, but you shouldn't have put yourself in that position if you knew you had to work the next day. It technically counts as being sick. You are impaired and unable to work as efficiently. But there is a difference in how you get it. Being sick is not something you plan and look out for, while being hungover is almost planned and you can apprehend it. Doesn't actually matter, sick is sick. Coming in late chronically 8 to 15 minutes and even 5 minutes late from lunch, but somehow find it makes sense to start packing up at 4:50 p.m. It's interesting. In my company the official line is, so long as the work is done, so you keep your right-arm hours. Officially it's a 40 hours week, and time is flexible, as are opportunities to work from home. If the work is done, nobody is really bothered if you take an hour for lunch or leave at 4 p.m. Which makes sense for some of our team members, higher tiered service desk engineers. For those who are our frontline members on the phones tier 1 in dispatch, it starts to hurt. Well, yes, here there are some jobs where people need to be working strict hours and strict breaks. Typically customer facing, but also some non-customer facing where certain work needs to be performed on a schedule. Come in late, don't prep enough even though there are lists, not clean completely when asked, be on their cell phones, steal money. Steal money, I feel like you buried the lead there. When you work from home and send me your work at the end of the day, I know you worked on it for about an hour before you emailed it to me. Who cares if the work is done? You're high AF. That's the real reason you won't drive any company vehicles. Won't the typo change the meaning of your sentence? I describe one employee, not one of my direct reports though, as that guy who takes the family circus path to the washroom every day. Extra smoke breaks. I don't care if you dip outside for a quick smoke, just don't lie about I can smell it on you. Boss, do you know I clock in at 5 a.m., clock out at 5 p.m., and only work between 8 and 130? If so, why do I get promotions and great reviews? We can see when you're playing on your phone, scrolling, or whatever. You think you're so subtle, Brittany, but we know. When you guys are banging, I've yet to meet anyone who has been smart enough To not let your banging relationship affect their jobs in a negative manner. When you call out sick BC of a family emergency, then post on social media about the event party you're at. When you're lying about how productive you are. We have reports for everything. Not a boss, but I'm involved with farming out work to an offshore software development team. They like to talk a big game about how complex and difficult their projects are, and set ridiculous multi-month time goals for them. 9-10 times I can look at their code check-ins, and with a little Google searching find the exact free software project they cribbed most of their work from, and I always know how long their projects should take. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the whole group was double dipping and being the offshore team for a couple of other companies at the same time. Think they have everyone fooled. Unfortunately, I only get to express my opinion, not actually fire them. What time you come into work? I'm laid back, and I don't really care. Just don't put me in an awkward position because you missed a meeting phone call or people are needing things from you. But I notice, and other managers notice as well. In fact, some of them don't like the fact that our department is more laid back. I spend 8 to 9 hours with you, 5 days per week. I can detect unusual activity such as a job search, an office affair or pilferage pretty easily because you are speaking, acting in a slight unusual way. We can tell when you're polite to our faces and then act like we're tyrants when we leave the room. We are not dumb. I help manage a few of my co-workers, even though we all work remotely. I can tell when you're not using those resources I virtually dumped in your lap. I can't see what's on your computer screen, but I can see your level of output, and there's a certain pattern that happens when you're not using the tweet deck. I did, in fact, overhear you say that you were going to report me to ours because I asked you to stop making inappropriate comments about younger coworkers. No, I was not shaking in my boots over it. It's funny how people respond to being asked to stop doing something that they know they aren't supposed to do. Suddenly they go to the rest of the team and start talking about how they are going to put in their 2 weeks. And yet, I never see your 2 weeks. Now I work in a professional office setting, so it's not an issue anymore. But before, in retail, so many dopeheads